Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Kindness Matters podcast. I'm your host, Mike Rathbun. On this podcast, we promote positivity, empathy, and compassion because we believe that kindness is alive and well, and there are people and organizations that you may not have heard of in the world, making their communities a better place for everyone. And we want you to hear their stories. On this podcast, we talk about matters of kindness because kindness matters. Hey, hello, and welcome, everybody. Thank you so much for making the choice to jump on and listen in on another episode of the Kindness Matters podcast. I'm your host, Mike Rathbun, and our goal here is to introduce you to some thoughts and some people who are out in the world every day just making a positive difference on others. And I hope you'll feel inspired by this or motivated, or just even if you feel uplifted a little bit, then we feel like we've done our job. And if any of those things are true, make sure you share this with your family and friends. Tell them you found a great podcast that makes you feel a little bit better. So I would appreciate that. I appreciate you. We have a fantastic show for you today. My guest is Helen, and she is a program director with the KITSAP, KITSAP, KITSAP Rescue Mission in Port Orchard, Washington. It's a suburb of Seattle, if you're not familiar with the area. And they provide services to the unhoused, the homeless, however you want to say that. Welcome to the show, Helen. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Oh, this is fantastic. And yeah, I've done a few shows about the homeless. We're just going to keep hammering it to you until you people listen and realize that these are human beings that need our help. And so, yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
He says as he climbs down off his soapbox. So, and how long have you been How long have you been with KITSAP, Helen?
So this is my 3.5 years.
3.5 years.
Yeah.
Okay.
Prior to that, I was a clinician with a mental health facility for about 13 years, and then a probation and parole officer. Yeah. So I've been around the block a little.
Okay, I was going to say, is that it seems like kind of a natural progression?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But
yeah, it
maybe
really
I'm
has.
wrong?
Yep, absolutely.
Now, and KITSAP is not the only people in the Seattle area. Do you know how many other organizations there are?
So I can't really speak for Seattle, but I know in this little area, KITSAP Peninsula, there's probably a good dozen other shelters, if not a little bit more. And
Okay.
so what we have a coordinated entry. And so the unhoused would come in and fill out an application, and whatever a good fit shelter will be, then they're kind of directed to that shelter.
Okay. Now, do you guys, I'm guessing you guys collaborate then by that?
Yeah, sure. So it's kind of like a trunk of a tree is where this coordinated entry is. And the branches are all the different shelters and all the different resources. And so it's really a great program, actually. Yeah.
Nice. So I have so many questions, but
Sure.
we'll start off easy. And I think it's fair to say that a lot of people they look abstractly at homelessness. You say, oh, that's horrible. Nobody should have to go through that. But then if they ever happen to run across somebody who's unhoused, probably the reaction is not quite as kind as that. Or if it's suggested that a shelter for the homeless be built in or near their neighborhood, I'm guessing they don't have quite the empathetic reaction. Do you find that to be true?
Yeah, there's just so many myths out there about homelessness. And I did write some of these down. It's like they don't want to get a job. They're lazy.
Yeah.
And, that's where they want to be. and they just, they just don't want to, they don't want to do anything, and everybody's mentally ill and they all choose to be there. But those are all myths, Mike. Those are all myths. I mean, can you imagine looking for a job and not being able to apply for a job, not being able to take a shower, not being able to wash your clothes? And
No.
then is anybody going to hire you? No, they're not going to hire you. But there's so many myths out there that the public, that's what they base their opinion on the homeless, is over these myths. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And the other thing you missed was addiction,
Yes.
because it's a myth that I think, and you hear that a lot too when you talk about that, when you talk about the population, is they're all addicts,
Yes. 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 And
which is
in
can
all
be true
reality,
sometimes.
in
Yeah.
reality, that's not a truth. That's not a fact. And what does happen is sometimes they become homeless, and because of the trauma, they do start using, because they drown their sorrows and try to dismiss anything they have through substance abuse.
Yeah, for sure. So, and your staff there, I mean, kudos to the people, because you've got a mix of volunteers and paid staff, correct?
Mm-hmm. We do. We have staff. We have about 21 staff at the Kitsap Rescue Mission, and they are the most amazing people ever. I have the utmost respect for them, Mike. I mean, they're kind, they're compassionate, and we truly do handpick our staff that come in. You cannot. You cannot learn compassion. It's innate. It's inside of you. You can't learn that. And so
Yeah.
every single one of our staff has that compassion and the want to help.
Yeah, but I would assume it's also kind of a tough job as well. It's not easy
It
seeing
isn't
people like
easy.
that.
So, that secondary trauma, we talk about unhoused guests. We call them guests, the homeless that come in, they're guests. And so they have so much trauma. There's so much trauma. It's that trauma-informed model of care is what we focus on. But along with that, the staff gets the secondary trauma. If you can only imagine, or your listeners can imagine, every day hearing about this trauma that these people are going through, domestic violence, adverse childhood experiences, substance abuse, and sexual abuse, all of those things. If you can imagine going through a shift, hearing this for 8 hours, you get that secondary trauma, and that's very, very difficult to deal with at times.
Yeah, because I was thinking about that, and I'm like, well, how do you help your staff and volunteers maintain that compassion? I mean, because obviously they have it or they wouldn't be working where they are, right?
Yeah.
But how do you help them maintain that and avoid burnout when they're working with people in crisis?
Right. And, we really, really try to focus on education. So they kind of know what's happening, and and through that education, they really truly know how to sometimes deal with it themselves. And so, but
Okay.
we focus on, hey, do you have self-care? Do you go home? What kind of self-care do you have? Do you look forward to go home? Do you go to the gym? Do you spend time with your family? Do you meditate? Do you cut this stuff off? Don't take it home with you.
Yeah.
So, and PTO, take some time off if you need it. We have coverage. We encourage that. And one thing too, Mike, is that we really, really encourage during our meetings, during our all staff meetings, hey, let's talk about this. What's happening? The frustration sometimes is just out of this world, and it gives them the platform to be able to just, and I call it download a little bit. They're downloading, they're just expressing their opinions, and go do something. And so we try to really encourage them to have a life outside of all this trauma that they're hearing every day.
It can be hard, I would imagine, to leave that behind when you've seen what you all see every day. Um, Here's another question I had. What do you wish the general public could see, and I'm using air quotes here because we're going to have to visualize it or understand if they're walking down the street in the city and they happen to see a homeless person, what do you wish they understood or could see about that person?
Oh boy. Well, first of all, I think everybody needs to be educated. I think the attitude that some people have, and I'm just going to throw it out there. Some people say, hey, what a lazy person that guy is. And look at this
Yeah.
person just all jacked up on drugs and da da da. And they just have such a negative. And they don't realize here's the way I look at people because I'm educated. I know exactly what homelessness is all about.
Sure.
I look at an individual who's screaming. We've all seen him on the corner screaming and yelling and holding signs up, and you can't understand what they're saying, or they're sleeping on the floor. I look at that and go, oh wow, that person's really feeling it, isn't it? They're feeling it. Number
Oh
one,
yeah.
they're lacking probably medication. That's why they're doing their and they're screaming because there's probably some schizophrenia going on, and they're not seeing a mental health professional, and they're not seeing their doctors, they're not seeing their families. I mean, they're miserable, totally miserable. And another thing I want to say is that people don't understand that some of them were dealt a really cruddy hand. And if you turn those tables around, you would probably understand a little bit better. Sometimes it's not their fault. They just got dealt a really cruddy hand, Mike. Yeah,
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I sometimes, and I talk about this quite often, is how I don't think we realize how incredibly close each and every one of us is potentially to being in that position.
absolutely.
I think about the elderly couple and one of the spouses dies and you know maybe their surviving spouse can't make the house payments
Yeah.
and you know next thing you know. So yeah, it's so talk a little bit about Kitsap because you have a lot of different layers to your organization, right? There's a shelter, you've got resources, you've got food. Talk
Mhm.
to me a little bit about that.
Yeah. So we are a 75-bed congregate shelter. And first of all, I want to let you know that we're faith based. Our shelter's faith based. And so probably 100% of our staff believe in Jesus. They're Christians. And
Okay.
so I just want to add that. And so, but 75-bed congregate shelter. And what that means is that they live in an open area, but have different, we call them pods. So we have a family pod, we have a men's
Oh,
pod, we have a women's pod, we have a couples pod, females, men. So we have all those pods, but they're in separate areas of the shelter, Mike. And
okay.
so on site, so we have wraparound services on site. This is a brand new facility.
Oh,
And to look at it, and you were talking about the community, and community doesn't want people in their area. You would never know, Mike, that this is a shelter. You just would never know. And it's just because we keep our privacy, we keep things clean, and so getting
yeah.
back to wraparound services, we have 2 case managers, which help individuals somewhat overcome their barriers. So, you have no idea how many people on the streets don't have an ID. They don't have an ID. They don't have a social security card. They don't have a birth certificate. Imagine trying to get resources and a job and an apartment without those documents. It just
You
doesn't
can.
happen, does it? It doesn't
Nope.
happen. And so those case managers will help them. They'll help them with their medical needs. On site here, we also have a clinic, a medical clinic that is here. And so they can go to that clinic free of charge. They can go see medical help if they have issues with their legs, or, some people have huge skin issues because they've been out in the sun for 30
Yeah.
years. And so we have a housing navigator that at some point they go to the housing navigator. They do applications. They have housing applications to get into housing. They get on the list. They get through HUD. They get through Section 8. That
Nice.
that individual helps them. We have a vet center, a veterinary center. So we're co-sheltering, so people can bring their pets in. And so, because again, who wants to leave their lovely pet out there? People would much rather stay out in the cold than leave their pet. And so we
Yeah, if they had the choice.
offer pet services. I can't imagine going into a shelter without my dog.
Nope.
And so we assess those dogs. We have agencies that assess the pets. We have cats, dogs, and miscellaneous, and assess them to make sure that they're a good fit for our shelter. So they come in. So they have crates, all kinds of resources. We also have a vet center where they can give them a bath. They can wash their bedding. A vet will come in and look at their pet if need be. And so in the back, we have pet runs. We have pet runs. We have children's playgrounds. We have a smoking section. They can go out. We also have a chef and his team that prepare 3 meals a day. And so I think last month we prepared, I think there was like 2,800 meals prepared.
In a month?
In a month. We are a low barrier shelter, which means they can still be under the influence when they come in. They just cannot, they have to be a good neighbor. If they're under the influence, if they're intoxicated, they come in, fine. But if that intoxication creates a bad neighbor on your part, then you're going to have to leave.
Yeah.
And so then we have 24/7 security. So people come in, they're wanted for any weapons or any paraphernalia, and they also have to check in. They have like a badge. They check in, so we know who's in shelter at the same time, and they check out. Yeah.
I just keyed in on a word you said. If they're wanted, do you look for active warrants on some of the people that come in?
No, we do not. But what we do is we do background checks on people.
Okay.
So I don't know where that wanted came in, but yeah. So, but I'm just saying that if they come in and
right
have paraphernalia or whatever, they can't come in. Yeah.
Fair enough. Yeah, it's. I just, and there's so much. I guess I don't know the word I'm looking for. Okay, I'm gonna move on. So, talk to me about how members of a community can approach people experiencing homelessness with empathy rather than judgment or fear. And I think you talked about that a little bit ago, but
yeah. So what do you mean, Mike, by approach?
View the
Yeah. I think I don't think we're going to change everybody's attitude about the homeless. There's so many people out there that just have really bad opinions about people being unhoused. But I think through social networking, through education, preferably, people can start, I don't know. It's just there's just not a lot that we can change people's minds, but we can educate people on and get rid of all those myths that we talk about. Get rid of those, and instead of judging, let's help a little. Let's help. I have staff member of mine has this saying, and I wrote it down because I always mess it up when that's being said. But I'm going to give her full credit for this sentence because it's so powerful. And she says, being homeless is like laying your head on a pillow of concrete. That's deep, isn't it? I mean, that's
really deep. Yeah. Can you even imagine that? Nobody.
No. I mean, so that's one approach.
Sure.
Can you imagine being in an encampment and laying your head on a ground that's been soaking wet and cold? But that saying was so brilliantly descriptive.
Yeah. It really brings it to life if you think about that for even more than a second.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, Okay, here's one for you. How can listeners, our lovely guests, the amazing people who chose to tune into this episode, how can they support the homeless population in meaningful, compassionate ways in their own neighborhoods?
Mm-hmm.
That's
So I think in their own neighborhoods, there's churches that reach out to the homeless, churches that have meals for the homeless. They're in pretty much everybody's community. There's a Salvation Army. There's probably homeless. No, go volunteer your time. And when I say volunteer your time, when you do that, you will literally see. I mean, there is no price on kindness that you can give to someone. I mean,
yeah,
and not only does it help them, but it helps the individual themselves by feeling better about themselves. Hey, I'm helping. I'm helping this community. I'm helping this person. I'm serving this person food who would much less not have any.
right.
So they can volunteer their time. They can volunteer their cash, their money.
Yeah.
You know, you can always volunteer, goodwill, that kind of stuff. But if you contact the shelter, and this is the one advice that I would give people, contact the
Okay.
shelter, contact Salvation Army and say, hey, what is it that you need? What can I do to help provide? Do you need, I know in our shelter, we need adult pull-ups.
Oh,
Who would think
I
of
didn't
that
think
in a
about that.
shelter? Who needs adult, we need adult pull-ups. We might need, Q-tips. We might need hygiene supplies. So those are the items. So for the listeners, all you got to do is pick up the phone and call and say, hey, I'm willing to help. Is there something I can do to help you? Do you need this? Can I donate, $5 a month? So those are the things that really make a difference in your community.
Yeah, for sure. It's funny because there've been at least a couple people that I've had on the show who just by themselves, and they got others involved along the way, but by themselves had the idea. One guy, and actually he's up in your neighborhood, I think. His name is, I can remember how to say it now. Two Coyote Helianthos, I think.
Oh, I'm not sure.
Anyway, he quit smoking and he's like, I gotta do something with this money, right? Or else it's gonna. So he took the savings and he went to Costco and he picked up like 5, 6 cases of water because you can do that at Costco for the price of a carton of cigarettes, right?
Right, right.
And he just went out and distributed to the
Perfect,
to the homeless in his neighborhood. I was like, that's genius.
perfect,
And,
perfect.
and I
Yeah.
mean, when you go to a vending machine, you buy a bottle of water. It's going to be what,
Mhm.
$1.50, buck
Yeah,
75,
yeah.
and you can get so many more.
Mhm.
Anyway, that was
Yeah.
one, and then another gal in my area um, decided to, and she does these scarf bombing. She calls them scarf bombing events, but she'll go to a park in Minneapolis, and it's one that's frequented quite often by the unhoused, and she'll just leave out scarves and gloves and hats during
Oh,
the
nice.
winter,
Yeah,
and she
yeah.
just leave them out, and she puts a tag on them so they know that they're for the homeless.
Right, right.
And I mean, and that was original. Now she takes like buses full of people
Yeah.
from
Yeah.
these parks, and
Amazing, amazing.
that's the kind of thing I think, you know, and your ideas were amazing as well. But
Yeah.
when I think about helping out in your own community, and it doesn't the bare minimum to just recognize and not turn up your nose, not roll your eyes when you walk by, not say something disgusting will
Right?
go a long ways.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think so. No, yeah, those are really great. I had a friend of mine that would get bananas, and she would have a whole car full of bananas and just drive around to whoever was on the side of the road and just start handing out bananas. It was like, okay, there you go. Great,
Perfect.
great potassium. Yeah.
Perfect. Huh. Never thought of that either. Because yeah, I mean, it's the perfect food, right? Because it comes with its own packaging.
Yeah.
There's no litter generated from. Well, okay, there might be, but it's not like a plastic wrap or whatever. Okay, so I saved the hardest question for last.
Oh,
What is the most important lesson you've learned about humanity through your work at Kitsap Rescue Mission?
mm, 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 mm. The most important.
Because I think when you do that kind of work, you might tend to lose faith in humanity.
Well, I think the most
Or would
important
you?
lesson is you really find out who you are personally as a person. I know for me, it's like, okay, I can see now that my compassion sometimes is not always where I want it to be. But now I can look at this and say, you got to turn things around a little bit. You've got to be a little bit
Okay,
more compassionate, and to be compassionate like that really makes a difference in someone else's life. I mean, it truly does. It just
totally.
it makes so much difference. Yeah.
And it's a positive difference. I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah.
when you have you ever had anybody, any of your guests, thank you for all the time?
Yes. In fact, we were at the dining hall and we had a gal come up and she goes, "I just want to say thank you to all you people. You guys are so good to us. You have helped me so much." And we get that a lot, Mike. We get that a lot. The guests will come up and say, "Thank you so much. Thank you, thank you, thank you." And it's like, "Heck yeah, you are so welcome and so deserving."
Yes.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And I think that's the thing too, right? It doesn't hurt to remind them that they are worthy
Right.
of love and
Mhm.
compassion and
Mhm.
respect and dignity and all those things that it takes to make you human, right?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Yep.
Yeah. I wow. Helen, thank you so much for coming
Yeah,
on today. I really appreciate
thank
this
you.
conversation. I appreciate the that you reached out.
Yeah, yeah.
Full disclosure, Helen and I grew up next to each other. I
And
wasn't
his
gonna
real
say
name is
anything.
Michael Scott. So anytime you want to call him Michael Scott Rothman.
Just go ahead. That was only because your dad's name was Mike and your brother's name was Mike. They had to differentiate us somehow.
Michael Scott, where are
All
you?
in a two-house area, you had 3 Mikes, Big Mike, Mikey, and Michael Scott.
Yeah, yeah.
Boy,
Uh-huh.
thank you. I really appreciate the
You're
fact that you
welcome.
reached out and the opportunity to really put a human face on
Yeah,
this.
yeah. You're welcome. Thank you, Mike Scott.
Alright. Take care, and we'll talk soon, Helen.
Yep. Thank you.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Kindness Matters podcast with my guest, Helen Gachera from the Kitsap Rescue Mission. I hope this episode left you feeling a little easier, a little more hopeful about the state of the world that we all share. And if you enjoyed this episode, please, please, please feel free to tell your friends, family, and coworkers about us. Also, don't forget to subscribe to our newsletter for more uplifting content every single month. It's free and there's a link in the show notes. You have been listening to the Kindness Matters podcast. We will be back again next week with a brand new episode, and we would be honored if you would join us again. But until then, remember, kindness matters, and so do you.